All right.
Something for that now.
Yeah, we're gonna get started, everyone. Starting right on time today. This is the Hamilton County Solid Waste Policy Committee meeting, Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, starting at 3 o'clock. We traditionally do a round robin around the room, so we're gonna do that today. Greg, we will start with you.
Greg Gesterman, Health Commissioner for Hamilton County Public Health.
Let's do that. We'll do four and then we'll move on.
Matt Wallert, Township Representative, Corning Township.
Colleen McSwiggan, Executive Director for Cincinnati Recycling and Reuse Hub, and the public member.
Sue Magnus with the City of Cincinnati.
Tony DiPuccio, Waste Generator Representative.
Michelle Ball, Hamilton County Resource.
Why don't you just introduce yourself?
Alex Hodet, Hamilton County Environmental Services.
There we go.
Brad Johnson, Hamilton County Environmental Services.
Very good.
Ashley Dodd, Hamilton County Environmental Services. Lisa Kosas, Legal Women Voters in Cincinnati. Karen Maury, Hamilton County Resource. Steve Fong Chen, Hamilton County Prosecutor's Office. Baker, Hamilton County Resource.
Okay, very good. Thank you all. Appreciate your participation in that. We will be approving the minutes of the meeting July 19, 2023. I understand we have a correction to the minutes.
Yes, if you could just adjust, my name with Mr. Davidson, who is here on my behalf.
Okay, are there any, I should take a motion first. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Great, I'll second. Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. We're gonna move on to public comment, and Marie, I always say it wrong, Kokocious, but I always try hard. So thank you for being here. You've got the pleasure of the floor for 3 minutes.
It's not even the worst name that I know of, but
Kokocious, rhymes with precocious. Oh, thank you. That'll be helpful in the future. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would like to talk today about a program that, a recycling, quote-unquote recycling program that Rumpke is proposing for the county municipalities, and it's called Hefty Renew. It's a program that they have already rolled out in different parts of the country, and what it involves is purchasing a Hefty bag. Usually they're red, but every community. And in that bag, you can recycle mostly plastic items, say cutlery, that Rumpke doesn't take. So the idea is the person in the community has to purchase that bag and fill it with those items. And just on a note here to Colleen, many of those items are taken already at the recycling hub. So it is a plastic recycling program. And the concern is, kind of the equity issue that people have to buy these bags. And secondly, as I mentioned, that many of these items are taken already at the recycling hub. And the other concern is what is this process? Is it really recycling? Is it a waste energy proposal? What are they going to do with them? And what we understand first was that they were going to take them to a facility in Pennsylvania, I've forgotten where exactly, and make them into something called hydro blocks, which were things that they could use to put in drainage drainage places where they could then use for that and that. But anyway, so that was one thing we heard, and our concerns are that what really is the end result? What are they going to do with these? Are they going to go to waste energy? Is it going to be a chemical recycling? I understand that they're going to roll this out in Hamilton County, and the issue for the recycling and what they're going to do with it is not clear. Go on their website, you can see it's a little bit vague, and we know other communities that have signed up but have not really stuck with it because it really doesn't result. In one community, it was 0.9% increase in recycling that they saw. So it's not a sustainable program in my opinion, and hopefully, and the city actually has a law that seemingly would preclude them. The city, no, it's the city of Cincinnati, would preclude them because of the type of recycling that the city contract requires, which is not a chemical recycling; it's a mechanical recycling. So I'm here to speak against that program. I realize it isn't it isn't on your agenda today, but I think that every municipality should think long and hard, because I believe this is greenwashing, basically. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, do we have any familiarity with this program?
Rumpke did have a rollout of this program in the spring. I did not attend,
yeah, it was
Rumpke
April.
did attend,
April.
but yeah, I think that was, they've not really done a whole lot of promotion about it. I believe it's
They actually have an update coming up,
next week, right?
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
soon.
At the MRF. So I'm attending that meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not at all familiar with this, so, I don't know if we want to, get involved in this or not, if, they're doing it. I think maybe an update at the next meeting might be helpful. So if you all could provide that, or maybe in from Rumpke to provide that, that might be useful. Thanks, Marie, for bringing it up.
Well, yeah, I know just a little bit about it, but it doesn't seem like a really good quote, recycling quote, unquote, quote.
Okay. Thanks. All right, next item is the resource revenue update and analysis, attachment B.
Yes, and, Ally pointed out before the meeting that there's actually a mistake in the 2023 tipping fee received, and the due number was accidentally doubled, for out of district, so, that changes the percentage.
That was nice.
Oh, that explains that.
Because we're like, why is it, yeah, that was actually our,
$1,000 increase. So, yes, it was a mistake, sorry about that. So, the in-district, tonnage, decreased, about 4%, 22,000 tons. The out-of-district, my calculation's no longer accurate, but it remained about the same.
okay, good.
And then the out-of-state decreased about 4%, in that same period. So this is just through, July of this year compared to 2019.
I was asking her, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Excel mistake.
Yeah, it's like, it happens.
You want to table it, I can print off
Yeah.
a clean version of it.
We can send it out, they don't have to vote on it.
It's important information.
So one thing I neglected to do was ask if there's anybody online that would like to, comment? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
That's all I had on that.
Oh, there you go. Okay, any questions about, the update? Okay, policy items for discussion, Hamilton County Solid Waste Plan Update Ratification.
Yes, we are at a very momentous spot in our solid waste plan update. We are finished with the 90-day ratification period that ended on August 1st. We got 47 of the 48 communities, to approve, representing 99% of the population. We were,
Yeah.
that pesky 1%, but, we are only required to have 60%. So we've definitely qualified, for, passing on to Ohio EPA, the next step of ratification. So I do have a, resolution here for everyone to sign, and, as soon as I get that, I will put this into our, plan and send it up to Ohio EPA for final approval. And I think they have 60 days, maybe 90, I can't remember.
To review.
So, yes, so any
Why don't
questions?
we pass that around? Sure. Let's see if it is.
Please.
Did the non-approval, not vote, or did they vote?
They did
no?
not vote.
Okay. Then I won't call them out.
Okay, so congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's great, that's great. And I know a lot of work went in, with the community input. It's been a very long, arduous process, so thank you for all the work you did on that. So we need a motion to ratify?
Yes, to pass the resolution finalizing the plan.
Okay, very good.
I make a motion to
Pass the
resolution. Yeah, to finalize the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Does it have to be in blue?
Don't know that it matters.
It doesn't say, and the Ohio Revised Code doesn't say.
Yeah, I have black, and I don't want to ruin the whole thing.
I appreciate
That's funny.
that.
You know, there was a time blue was required for some of the.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
Better safe than sorry.
Any other comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. 2024 Waste Reduction Impact Grant.
And we do have a brief PowerPoint to share, and I will get that started. Chair Mooring is gonna give most of this update. I'm going to, talk about this first screen here, just to give a little bit of an overview so you kind of understand where we're at with all of our, grant programs. So this discussion is mainly around the impact grant. This is the second time that we'll be rolling out the impact grant. This is a $500,000 budget for this grant. The max that you can, apply for is $100,000. This goes to pretty much anyone except individuals who would, apply. And it is, a competitive grant, so there's an application due date, and all of the applications are evaluated at the same time. We also, have the innovation grant, which is, we have all year round, open. It is non-competitive in that you can apply at any time, and your application is evaluated, independent of other applications. You're not competing. It's based on its own merit. It is a $100,000 a year budget, and the max that you can request is $15,000. It is also open to the same communities, nonprofits, for-profit, schools, and it's been in our budget annually. The other program that we have is the residential recycling incentive. This is technically budgeted at $800,000, but we have a contingency that if our projected revenue goes over $100,000, another $100,000 is added. So it's usually a $900,000 budget that continues in the next plan. And this is only open to communities. So the 48 political jurisdictions are the only ones who can apply for this. And it is an incentive program to encourage more diversion on the community level. This is based on your diversion rate, but also the tons that you recycle. And all of that is reported, and that's annual. And one of the things, if you'll remember, that is in the new plan is to allow communities to count commercial diversion. So we will likely roll that out in 2025 with the 2024 numbers. So we'll probably do a little test of that coming next year, but the communities will actually get credit for it in 2025. Hopefully we can pull that out. We still figure that out. Then the last one that I want to mention are the Ohio EPA grants, because we do deal with them. So although it's not our funds, a lot of times with the market development grant, we ask it to pass through. So we will apply on behalf of, say, Rumpke, like we did earlier this year. They received a grant from Ohio EPA, so Ohio EPA gives us the funds. We then pass them through to Rumpke. We also help provide assistance to a lot of communities or nonprofit organizations who want to apply for the community development grant. They can now apply directly on their own. We don't have to access pass-through, but we still offer help with those applications. So those are the big picture grants. I just thought that would be helpful. I'm going to pass it off to Cher, and Cher, I'm just going to move through them so you can just tell me when you want me to.
And on the Ohio EPA grant, they changed their cycle, so now they're doing December versus July.
Yeah.
And they doubled almost the amount of money that they can give away this year, because they're going into their carryover as well. So, yeah, so apply early.
I know, well, that's the thing, it's like, we just cut the box trucks, but I'm not sure what else is there, so.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about the 2024 impact grant, next slide. So it's mandatory that it reduces landfill waste from organizations and residents and someone in Hamilton County, Ohio. So, that's where it has to reduce the waste coming. As Michelle said, we have $500 budgeted. We allow up to $100,000 per project. We do require a 25% match. That match can be in kind for, communities, schools, nonprofit organizations. For-profit businesses, it needs to be a cash match. As I mentioned, these are the people who can apply: communities, schools, nonprofits, and businesses. Next. So we are making some changes from the last time we offered this grant. Next. We're going to offer more time for people to apply in hopes that we just get more interest and better applications. Next. Previously, we were dispersing money in a very confusing way. So To simplify things, more for everyone involved, we'll release the first up to $50,000, once someone receives the grant, and then we'll require that they submit proof of purchase for all the grant-funded and the match-funded projects, at which time we will release the remainder of the funds.
So the idea is you're gonna release about 50% upfront, and then they get the balance when they finish their project.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, if they request less than $100,000, it wouldn't, you know,
Yeah.
it wouldn't necessarily be 50%, but
Mm-hmm.
we felt like that would still limit our risk, considerably, and we've given out $50,000 grants before, so.
And from communities here, it has a 25% matching fund could be in-kind services.
Mhm.
So what kind of oversight is there on that?
So it depends on what it is. I usually look to Ally, for advice as far as that's concerned. A lot of times it's salary, so I'll request that, or they have to keep track of like how many hours, and on days, you know, what days and what hours someone worked on that, and then they have to submit, proof that that employee was paid in that time frame.
Can that include community volunteers?
So if that's the case, then when they submit the proposal, they need to make really clear, like, how many hours they anticipate and what the value is of those employees, or those volunteers. So, they need to give me a value, and then they have to, submit some kind of supporting documentation on how many volunteers' hours were worked for the project.
I think I'd feel slightly better if there were a standard, that if they didn't determine it, but you did, when it comes to volunteer.
Yeah, but it's so, it can really differ. Like, sometimes it's a Boy Scout group watching recycling bins and making sure people aren't putting the wrong stuff in it. And then sometimes it's, a engineer helping them build a structure. So it's like a real, it's not an apples to apples exactly.
I guess my concern is that not that anyone in Hamilton County would do that, I guess, overstate the value of volunteer, is a way to get a hold of the grant. That's been known to happen in funds.
Yeah.
Well, I think they would have to document those volunteer hours, and if they couldn't, like their event didn't happen, then the backup would be they would pay the cash, right?
I think I know where Matt's coming from. He's saying like, standard dollars per hour value.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yes. And actually, Keeps and Say Beautiful does that. There is a standard number that they use.
Yeah.
On how they document professional versus regular volunteer hours.
Yeah, and and I would say as long as there's some delineation between that, is it like sort of skilled
It was
labor
skilled and unskilled.
slash,
They have two for them to report. Yeah.
yeah.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
For the volunteers, because that's, I mean, that's gonna be grunt work most of the time, and it's, grunt work in Norwood's the same as grunt work in Colerain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been years, but it was more like minimum wage for the unskilled and
Yeah.
and then the professional, there was a number unless you could document something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't care what the number is, I leave that up to you guys
Yeah.
as professionals in that, but I want the number to be consistent, I think, for that part.
Okay. At that
Is there, to the point, if there were to be a community that didn't live up to their 25%, is there a clawback mechanism here?
So,
You don't give them the rest of their money.
yeah, I mean, they have to,
Even
That's not a clawback.
I have not had that happen yet, but my fallback would be that, that would come out of like some of the grant, what was originally supposed to be grant funded, that they have to contribute at least 25%. So if they're receiving a $100,000 grant and they were supposed to, have $25,000, that they put into it, and they only had $10,000, then we would not give them, the full $100,000, that we would make it so that they're still paying the 25%.
This is our second year of this?
Mhm. But we've been doing the same thing with the, innovation grant since I think 2016,
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And I love using the volunteers because the numbers tell us that statistically, the more we use, the more go out and do it on their own and stick with it and become more advocates for this
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I'm not downplaying that, I just think it should be consistent, so.
Yeah, okay. Any questions? Oh, you're not finished, are you?
Nope.
Well.
I haven't even gotten to the questions for you guys yet. So we are requiring that organizations, have the promised match available to be shovel-ready and not be using our grant as a fundraising tool, for anything. So that's gonna be another, change this year, and we are also not allowing it to, be part of a multiple grant program. So, there was some talk about having us potentially have this grant to be used as part of a match for an Ohio EPA grant. There was some conflicting, communication there, and the Ohio EPA will not fund a grant that was, has another grant as the match, so there's just no point in that. So this is some of the promotion, we plan to do. A lot of it's the same thing we did last year, or, 2 years ago. Some of the new things are attending community and affinity group meetings, in underrepresented communities. Reach out to other funding agencies. Maybe they've received proposals that weren't a good fit for them, but might be a good fit for us. And then partner with multiple different people to get the word out, and that's just a snapshot of some of them. Okay, so these are your questions for you guys. So last time, we allowed up to 50% of, project expenses to be operational. And we want to know if you want to, make any changes to this. So capital grants are more for specific projects and equipment. Operational grants are more unrestricted, and can pay for basically the organization doing business.
How many operational grants did you award in the last few years, I guess, and do you feel that there was good value in that?
Well, so the impact grant, they received funding in the beginning of this year, and so they have 2 years to spend that money, so we don't know yet. There was only one, and that was for, last mile food rescue. Somewhat operational.
I got a question.
And we do require that it be we also require it to be for a new program, for operational.
Yeah. I have a question. Is that supposed to be only for up to 50% of operational expenses?
No, 50% of the total project expenses. So if it was if they were asking for $100,000, they could ask for up to $50,000 for operation.
Okay, just the way it was worded, it made me,
Sorry.
that's okay.
You know, without any feedback, I hate to cut it, but I was thinking at first 25 before I saw the 50%. But I could be convinced either way. But I do think that some portion for operational is needed.
Yeah. Well, and the way that part of it's the way kind of that you cut things for the grant. So like, we put a lot of our rent under program expenses because that's for storage for the plastic and everything else that we're sending out. So that's clearly definitely a program-related kind of thing, but somebody could see that and say, well, that's just space. But we couldn't do what we're doing if we didn't have the space. So I always think that's a kind of fine line, let's just say, for what you actually consider operational and what's program or project related.
I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, like 50 is, fair.
I got a couple suggestions, I guess, on the evaluation criteria. The last one you had there was sort of past experience. I'd like to see that knocked down to 5% selection criteria, but the other 5% on applicants' ability to complete the project.
I agree with that.
The other 5% to do what now?
The other 5% would change where it says applicant demonstrates his ability, change that to 15%.
Okay.
They're kind of related anyway, those two different criteria.
Where would you take the 5%? From the applicant who received funds. I thought that was heavy on that last one. Yeah, so although it does prove that, hopefully that you have the ability to complete the project, but if you don't have that history, do you not get?
No, you do get the point. So if you have no history, you get all 10%. If you have a bad history, we knock it down.
And then if you don't have any history whatsoever, then it's just not included in.
You get the whole 10% of
Anyway.
points.
Okay.
You get all the points if you've never applied for a grant from us before,
Okay, so it's only.
or have never received a
Only
grant
if you have
from
a
us.
bad track record.
So,
that
yeah,
counts.
if they have a
Okay.
bad track record, then that's when we start knocking the points down.
Okay.
So what do we mean by cost-effective manner? I see Tony's point, but I keep coming back to maybe what I said a couple meetings ago about making the entry, for communities that haven't been involved with this, the entry barrier is lower. Does this make it higher for them, or is it no impact? The fact that.
I would say that if they've never applied for a grant before, or never received a grant from us before, it would be to no detriment to them. So they would receive all of the points because we don't have a bad history.
No, I mean, on the cost-effective and the 15% cost-effective manner.
Yeah.
I mean, because communities or groups or whatever that apply for the first time aren't gonna be as cost-effective as those that did it the 10th or 12th
They're
time.
still trying to figure out how the best
Right.
way to do it is, yeah.
But I don't wanna say no to them because of that. I wanna get them started so that they increase that efficiency. So I don't know how, I guess it depends on how you define it in the rubric on cost-efficient manner.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, a lot of it is, at the judgment of the people evaluating the grants and how they feel about it. We had 5 people evaluate these grants, so it was, pretty, first, number of evaluators that decide whether or not they felt it was cost effective.
The other thing is, I'm not supportive of operational grants. Like every couple of years for an operational grant. That's kind of what we're trying to get away from is providing an annual subsidy for.
Isn't it operational expenses for only new
For a
projects?
project.
For a
Yeah.
project, they would still have to
Yeah.
have waste reduction goals,
Yeah,
they'll have to divert significant amount of days.
and they still have to show that this is it's able to be continued down the line without additional support for the project.
Well, just to be clear, is the operational, that allocation only allowed for new projects, not allowed for projects that have applied before and gotten money?
Or for projects that are already established.
Yeah, so
and
does that
happening.
help out at all?
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause I understand what you're saying, but for a new project, it's a one-time operational, only up to 50%.
Yeah.
And then that's it, then
Right.
it can't be operational.
Okay. And on replacement equipment, I'd like to see,
I think that's the next one,
yeah,
is it?
No.
No.
sorry, I jumped ahead.
Do you want to jump ahead or stay on top?
No, you go right.
Research and planning, things like, hiring a consultant for zero waste plan, universities, researching innovative technologies, things like that. Do we want to consider funding?
I wouldn't be opposed to, say, a community, especially a low-income community, trying to sort of figure out how to do more waste reduction in their community, hiring a consultant. But I don't know that I would want that on a bigger scale from somebody else who might have the funding to hire a consultant on their own, let's put it that way. And as far as university research, I think there's other government grants out there for a lot of that.
And in
mind, although, you know, not for, if it's not gonna result in diversion within that period, you know, that I would say no. But if it is, if you need a little bit of planning time to get it going, I don't see why that portion should be.
So my experience is that these students, at least in Colerain, were relatively close to Miami. And, since I taught there for 10 years in the political science department, that there are people screaming for projects. And we had Miami students come in and do a Reimagine Colerain and did it as just a project.
Yeah,
Consequently, they both got hired by Colerain Township, so,
yeah.
but that's, if they would have turned in a inferior product, that wouldn't have happened. But I know in talking to the people up there, because government, urban planning is part of poli-sci, is that there's a need for projects. And I would assume it would be the same at Northern, and I know it's the same state, they have a program too. It seems like a better fit would be to be a clearinghouse between, those communities that want something in those schools that wanna do something, rather than give a grant. I mean, I think there's plenty of students that, and look, we're talking a lot of times master's level work, and I think it would be good for you to kind of be the go-between. I don't know
And
if
as far as bigger projects that might actually need, like say if you're doing a chemistry project, be how to better do recycling or something like that. Again, that's where there's a lot of federal grants that are available for that still are more than adequately covering that area, let's say.
Or do we wanna consider a cap on what percentage of your project budget can go towards research?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love this one myself.
Yeah, I'm a no.
Yeah, I don't love this,
For either.
for the research and planning.
Okay, so for a consultant or, okay.
Yeah, that's just where I am on it. Doesn't strike me as very impactful.
Model for a community,
I
don't know.
mean, to the point, are there avenues to get this kind of funding? I would rather our funding be used for delivery. Yeah, the project itself, maybe come off the cost, to get it off the ground, not so much. That's where I am.
Yeah.
Gotta have a project day. Research means it's not ready.
I'm trying to think, so for the Ohio EPA grant, so is there a way that a community could hire a consultant under any of those? Because I'm thinking it's more like project-based, like getting a shredder, getting a backhoe loader. I don't know that off the top of my head. Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking, and that's where we have some of that capability, obviously, through resource for some of the communities. Wondering if there might be somebody else that needed more hand-holding, let's say. There's another way for them to get that help.
In your experience, how many research applications, what percentage do we get?
Well, I'm not talking research at all. I'm talking consultant for like a smaller community, low-income community who wants to do more recycling but don't even know where to start or what the options are.
Got one application for, right?
It was not from a small community though. Okay.
Colleen, I think you started off with, you think there's funding available elsewhere for that, and I agree with that. Even planning companies.
Well, I'm not sure if it is for smaller communities, because, I mean, and the way that so we just had an event where we were at Lincoln Heights, and they had a lot that they didn't even know that they didn't know. If it's something where somebody in that community says, hey, I wanna hire somebody just so we can find out more, I don't know that there is funding out there for that. Because like I said, the Ohio EPA might be, but I don't remember that being part of it.
Although, if somebody's interested in a waste reduction project,
Yeah.
Hire
this
them.
whole staff,
Yeah.
they're consultants,
Yeah.
you guys are consulting, I mean, you guys consult with me all the time.
Yeah. But is that something where you could do it on,
But to develop the whole project, no,
Yeah,
you're
and
not
that's
doing
what- and
that.
that's what I-
We do
Okay.
Free target communities.
every year?
Actually, yeah, we do develop the
Yeah,
project.
but it's like, what do you do if you've got, I don't know, this is, or have, let's say 10 communities coming all at once, and that's where it's like,
Based on that, I'd be a no-go too.
Internally,
Yeah.
we all kind of have this built in.
Okay.
Right,
So is that a no for research and planning then?
okay with it.
Replacement of existing equipment, so that's, equipment that is being well used and is, broken down or breaking down and needed, replacement
I'm
in order to continue that
Although,
program.
you know, if it's at end of its life, end of its
Yeah.
warranty, that, you know, that's when you have to replace stuff.
The only challenge I would have is we're talking about trying to create projects that are sustainable, and we are saying, yeah, in 10 years, come back, and we'll get you a new whatever.
A new baler.
I'm not super strong opinionated, but it seems weird to want new projects, new initiatives, not keeping current going.
It
And they
also-
should be building a capital reserve fund for that. When they first bought it, they had. They were gonna do that by getting a grant. Forward planning, I guess.
I could see the need to replace, even
Yeah.
recycling carts crack over time, I mean,
Yeah.
they just need to be replaced, they just don't live forever.
Yeah, and it could be something where, you know, something has, say, an estimated life of 10 years, and it lasted 5, because maybe they bought it used or something in the first place. And in order to keep the project going, they need more funding than they had time to plan for. So, because again, I'm okay with it, and it's one of those things where I would hope that the grant reviewers would say, yeah, this seems reasonable, or no, this does not seem reasonable.
There's a note up there from Ernie.
They would not do a hire a
Yeah.
consultant, okay, thanks, thanks,
Yeah.
Ernie.
What about this?
So I don't know that I got a clear picture if this is a yes or a no yet.
I would say they should write it, talk about how they're buying it bigger and better so they can further enhance their process. Buy a better cart or a better machine that's gonna do X, Y, and Z more, and then they would fall into the new category, but
Sometimes you just need another recycling cart.
Yeah.
So I would be agreeable to replacing that equipment,
I would as well.
with my budget constraints.
that's true.
I'm a no on that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know, maybe, I'm just throwing in my mind here, maybe giving them lower priority evaluation points, but,
Compromise position.
yeah. I don't know, it just seems like if it was effective, you would have built that into the capital reserve, so, I don't know. I'm a no on the top, but if you wanna make it lower priority, I'm fine with that.
We've got a split vote here in front of, so,
What,
well, we've got a couple yeses, we've got a couple noes.
so we have 2 no's then, or are you a no?
I'm a no to the
Okay.
top, to using lower priority evaluation points, I'm
Okay.
more open to that.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of where I am, just when I would leave it to the reviewers to say, okay, it makes sense that this one really needs to be replaced now, or hey, they could have planned better for this, or hey, they have another, you know, another way of taking care of that issue instead of the grant.
And it seems kind of what Greg kind of said, maybe this new this new item is a game changer. And it's gonna be,
efficient.
And that's gonna be an easier decision,
Yeah.
but you're right,
Are
that
you
it's
comfortable with
just,
that, Tony, to make it a lower priority?
How low?
We're looking for a compromise position here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay, so you get the gist,
Okay,
right?
so yes, but
We
it's
all
a
know
lower
we're
priority.
going back replacing equipment all the time, I mean, that's not what this is about, these are impact grants, right?
Okay.
They have some positive impact. Get the idea?
Yeah.
Yep, okay,
Way to bring
And then-
compromise.
that's right.
How about that?
How about that?
And so, Tony already talked a little bit about this, so we'll change or if everyone agrees, the last evaluation of applicant has received funds in the past and the administration was positive, change that to 5%, and move that 5% up to applicant demonstrates the ability to complete project objectives in a cost-effective manner, so that would actually be 15%. Does everyone feel good about that?
I'm good with that.
And does anyone have any other changes on the evaluation criteria?
To the point of the last item, do we wanna say you're deducted 5% or 10% if you're just simply replacing equipment, so it's just standard, easy to decide? So if you're coming for the last bullet, which was to just simply
Yeah.
replace equipment. We just said we want you to have a lower priority, we want a
Well,
5% lower
yeah, we
priority.
didn't necessarily fund the equipment in the first place, though, so like, if it wasn't a grant that we funded previously,
We're saying, though, we're giving it the lower priority.
yeah, so.
Would that fall
and
into
that's where
the
it
third
comes
one, the sustainable funding
out. Yeah,
feature?
Yeah,
Take off.
maybe 5 for
5%.
that if it's replacement.
And if,
Other than an emergency that wasn't planned, like, I could understand too, if somebody had something, I don't know, in a basement and it got flooded and it's, just gone.
All the insurance companies.
Yeah, I get it, but if it's flood insurance, maybe it doesn't cover it, I don't know, I'm just trying to think, I don't want somebody being stuck and not being able to do a plan.
Things
if-
just break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
All on their own.
yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I had a couple of quick ones. I like the idea of that one of the things in that, I encourage you to look at is, if they have a physical facility, how secure is that facility in terms of own it, do they lease it, stuff or whatever. And partway through the grant, and all of a sudden, that they can't renew the lease, and it really throws the whole operations. And kind of along those same lines, if there are key personnel for these operations, that I would say the only thing you can likely do there is just require that one of the designated key personnel, which they would designate to you, leaves, that they have to notify. That can have a big impact.
That would have been really helpful for me this past week. As a matter of fact, okay.
And those are not really sort of too much evaluation criteria. Honor king like this. That's it, that's all I had.
Anybody else? Okay, I think he's got direction.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to the 2021 Waste Reduction Innovation Grant wrap-up.
So this is a 2-year grant, so this is the final, just to kind of wrap up with the final reports the chair received, for these projects. A lot of these projects were impacted by COVID, you can imagine. They were starting right around there, so, but they, actually, most of them exceeded, one of, or both of their, evaluation criteria of either tonnage or people reach, and were quite successful. So any questions about them, Sharon, I can see. Did I skip ahead?
Yeah, thanks for
Yes,
the.
you did, I mean, there was, so it was,
I did attachment
we
F
figured it out.
instead of attachment E.
Oh, all right.
yeah.
Sorry, attachment F is, just the grants that we've received since the last policy meeting. So, and these were the ones, selected for funding.
Actually, I had a question about the one for Block Ministries. Where are the horses that are providing the manure?
Where
are they?
Price Hill.
Yeah,
They are in East Price Hill?
yes, it's a new farm, I guess is what
Okay.
they call it, farm, a program, but, yeah.
Okay, but like where are the horses actually at?
They're in East Price
They're
Hill.
in lot.
Like, but where in East
They're-
Price Hill?
What the address, you know,
Yeah.
where, they're off of Warsaw, down,
Okay.
there's a ball field right at the base of it. The old school, Quebec School was there.
Okay,
Do you know Quebec School?
Yeah,
I do.
okay.
It's on Ross.
go figure.
So if
Okay.
you go all the way to the end of Ross, Quebec School is no longer there, and now they've
Okay.
got a barn and stables.
Wow, yeah, 'cause usually I come down all the way down Glenway, so.
Oh, you should turn down.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I'm like, I know, I'm like,
Yeah.
where's the manure coming from?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
There aren't any environmental permitting requirements.
Right, and it's from the animals, so there's special exemptions for animal, on-site animal manure.
Awesome, good. Thank you. It's really helpful to see the updates, right? Because we're just talking about criteria, and now we're talking about the actual programs that got funded, so it's very helpful. Okay, then the next one, Michelle, is you?
Yeah, I already did that.
Yeah, right.
We're good.
All right, and then item 7, Michelle, that is you as well? About the next meeting?
Yes, so the next meeting, November 15th, and we are looking at, possibly doing an off-site meeting. Dom, was looking at maybe for next spring, doing an off-site meeting at, Xavier near one of his gardens. And then we will be planning the meetings for next year. So one thing that I, discussed with Treasury House is, do we want, instead of doing 6 meetings a year, do them quarterly, do 4 meetings a year? Throw out that idea since we're done with our solid waste plan. We could do meetings quarterly, and you could decide if you wanted to do them in January, early in the quarter, or later in the quarter.
Yep.
Just throwing it out there.
Throwing it out for discussion. And I love the idea of going off-site.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah, so, and maybe to your site, there are plenty of options here,
Yep.
so. And some of the things we funded, I think, would be really interesting, so let's go to walk.
Like to go see the
Let's
horses.
go see the horses,
in East
right?
Hill.
Right, so I think that's a great idea, at least twice, depending on how many meetings we have, so what do y'all think? We're meeting every other month right now, so that's 6 meetings a year, we could go to quarterly, if we prefer, I don't know if there's a difference of opinion here, but interested.
Since we're not in the planning process, I'm agreeable to get a 4.
Here's that too. Matt, do you wanna meet more often? I see you shaking.
Weekly.
On the I know where Greg is on that, so.
How would the, offsites be, and I don't have it in front of me, with Open Meetings Act, and, I mean, we would have to, obviously,
Have technology.
It would have to be in a publicly available meeting, so building. We have to do it indoors, unfortunately. The technology is just not there for us to
To do it
set it up outside, and then the weather, the weather.
so there needs to be an extra notice done.
So we would, that's why I kind of wanted to wait till next year, because we've already done the public notice for this
Right.
year. But in the public notice for next year, I would say these are when our meetings, and we're gonna have it at these locations. If we did change it, say we wanted to change it for November, I would just have to put out a new public notice before, 24 hours before. Then I would want to do it much before that, but the legal requirement is 24 hours.
I'm good with quarterly. Offsite, I think is a great idea, as long as we don't have to do it in Colerain Township. I'm kidding.
And then we reevaluate if it becomes an administrative burden to do it, that we.
Yeah. Yeah.
But try it, see how, but if it's a hassle.
And we'll make sure to have all the hookups so that the public can access the meeting virtually. Okay, all right, quarterly then. If the work becomes too much, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna revisit this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go quarterly, and then maybe, every other is off-site. Okay? Very good. So is that all? Does anybody have anything else for the good of the cause? If not, I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right, thank you. And one last thing before we go. My intern is here, Claire Wagner. She walked in a little late. I just want to introduce her. Claire Wagner, raise your hand. There we go, Claire. So she's learning things about all things county commission, and coming to this meeting is one of them. So, yeah, thank you. All right, we're adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you.